general sense in terms of why it's important to the world, feeding people, manufacturing, economics. We talked about sort of the life of the organisms, including the magic of the silver carp, which is truly a magical organism. Now we're going to talk about aquaculture systems. At the very beginning of class, this semester, we talked about extensive systems. These are open to the world. We really have no control. These are outdoor ponds, coastal systems where we're growing kelp, that sort of thing. You got algae in your plants are growing, no filtration or pumps. Small lakes, stream segments, this kind of stuff you don't have a lot of control, so you just kind of let it go. The thing that seems to be really popular right now, and this is because humans like to control stuff, is intensive systems. These are closed. In other words, this means that we've got engineering. And so that aquarium system we're going to look at tomorrow is, for better or worse, kind of a microcosm of sort of what bigger operations do. So you're controlling things like food, filtration and pumps. And we're going to use the term RAS a lot. That stands for Recirculated Aquaculture Systems. I don't want to brag, but one of the first places in the country to really start playing around with RAS in aquaculture was here. There's a professor who was the first director of the center here named Bill Lewis. And Bill absolutely loved aquariums, apparently. I didn't know him personally, but he just loved playing with this kind of stuff. And so I think he saw a real need or use for raising fish indoors using these RAS kinds of systems. So he came up with some of the early biofiltration, nutrient dynamics, all that kind of stuff. And we talk about the Sapphire aquaculture facility down in Florida. We will talk about the feasibility of this because really for intensive, like super intensive indoor RAS systems, there's still a lot to be done in terms of the engineering and understanding how all this stuff works. If you go to the Shedd Aquarium, these are also intensive systems as well, life support systems, so incredibly important. So different types of intensive aquaculture. We've got pond facilities, outdoor raceways. The NICRAC meeting I was at last week. There was a dude who was talking to me about, from Ohio State, talking about applying raceways to growing largemouth bass, for example. Outdoor pens and cages, literally in the Mediterranean, for example. They're growing tuna in the Mediterranean in these large outdoor cages, which is cool, but man, you can see here that you're getting to a point where you've got these big boats and you've got these giant things, these giant nets. And of course, if you have a storm come through or something like this, it could destroy your whole operation in a moment. So you got to be careful about this. One thing we'll talk about in detail this semester is the fact that there are a lot of folks that have this dream of having these kind of systems throughout the Great Lakes and growing perch and walleye and native fishes. One of the questions is why don't we see these now? Canada actually has some, but the US doesn't really have anything like this. And then finally we'll get into the RAS systems. So let's quickly talk about ponds. So it's hard to do. There we go. So outdoor ponds. You may think that ponds are simple, just because it's if anybody has a farm pond on their property, it's just basically some water and that kind of thing. But when you're culturing organisms in a pond kind of situation, there's a lot of stuff that you need to take into account. The size of the ponds, in terms of their depth, their volume, their area. The enemy, oh, that's exciting. Why did I do that?
Did you double tap it? Is that what?
Evaporation, predation, this is a huge one. And honestly, I think I'm becoming more and more of an aquaculturist. I think I might try to work on this a little bit, which is trying to keep birds and mammals from eating all your fish in your aquaculture operation. Where's your water going to come from? Your water source. That's a huge issue. Controlling temperatures. When we talk about bioenergetics in this class, the temperature that the fish grows in is incredibly important. You got to filter these systems to remove unwanted fish. So you may think, well, that's easy, but remember what I talked about. Fish, eggs, and larvae are really tiny. And so if you're filling water in from an outside source, this word's tiny, and God, it's hard to write on this thing. The handwriting is bad enough. Fish are tiny when they're babies, and so they can easily get through when you're pumping water in from a source, lake, or something like this. So you can end up with a pond full of green sunfish, for example. Green sunfish are these little nerdy sunfish that are about this big that get in everywhere. Quality of your water, again, fertilization, water quality, we'll need to talk about that. Things like algae and vascular plants, and then issues like aeration. So we're going to go into all these details as we talk about this stuff, and then we'll eventually go on a field trip out to our Arcusha Nature Ponds and talk about this stuff. But I will stop there. Thank you for joining me. If you have any problems getting to the aquarium, let me know.